Like, subscribe, share, and activate the alerts. Outlaws of the Marsh, Chapter 10. Lin Chung shelters from the snowstorm in the Mountain Spirit Temple. Captain Lu Qian sets fire to the fodder depot. Lin Chung was strolling along when someone behind him called his name. He turned around and saw tavern waiter Li Xiao. When they first became acquainted in the eastern capital, Lin had helped him financially several times. Later, Xiao stole money from the tavern keeper and was arrested. He was going to be sent to the prefect, but Lin Chung spoke up in his behalf and he did not have to stand trial. Lin also paid back the money for him and he was released. Although Xiao could no longer find work in the capital, thanks to the traveling expenses which Lin gave him, he was able to seek employment elsewhere. Today, unexpectedly, they met again in Changzhou. "What are you doing here, Brother Xiao?" asked Lin Chung. Xiao kowtowed and replied, "After you saved me, benefactor, and gave me traveling money, I looked everywhere for a job, but in vain. Finally, I wandered into Changzhou. Here, a tavern keeper named Wang took me on his assistant because I was a hard worker and could make tasty dishes and sauces. The customers praised me and business improved. The tavern keeper had a daughter, and he gave her to me in a marriage and adopted me into his household. Now, both he and my mother-in-law are dead. Only my wife and I are left. We run a tavern in front of the garrison. I was just passing by on my way to collect some bills. What are you doing here, benefactor?" Lin pointed to the mark on his face. "Because I crossed the will of Marshal Gao. He conspired against me and had me convicted and exiled to this place. At present, I look after the garrison prison temple. I don't know what they'll do with me in the future. I never expected to meet you here." Xiao brought Lin Chung to his home, invited him to be seated, and called his wife to greet him. Both husband and wife said happily, "We have no close relatives.
Your coming here today, benefactor, is like a gift from heaven."
"I'm in exile," said Lin. "Won't associating with me sully your name?" "How can you talk like that?" said Xiao. "Everyone knows your excellent reputation. Be sure to bring all your washing and mending to my wife." He entertained Lin Chung with food and drink, and that night he saw him back to the garrison temple. The following morning, he came again to invite Lin Chung to his home. From then on, Xiao and Lin Chung called on each other frequently. Xiao often sent tea or soup to Lin in the garrison. Moved by the couple's respect and devotion, Lin gave them money from time to time to use in their business. To skip idle chatter, time passed quickly. Winter came. All of Lin Chung's padded winter garments were stitched and mended by Xiao wife. One day, while Xiao was cooking in the entry, a man slipped in and sat down inside at one of the tables. Then another fellow furtively entered. The first man was an army officer by the looks of him. The second seemed more like an attendant. He also hurried in and sat down. Xiao went up to them. "Wine?" he queried. The officer handed Xiao an ounce of silver. "Take this on account. Bring us 3 or 4 jugs of good wine. When our guests come, serve some food and tidbits. You choose the dishes. You needn't ask me." "You've invited guests, sir?" "I must trouble you to go to the garrison prison and invite the warden and the head keeper here for a chat. If they questioned you, just say, 'A gentleman requested that you come and discuss certain matters. He is looking forward to your arrival.'" Xiao assented and left. At the garrison, he first relayed the request to the head keeper, then, together, They extended the invitation to the warden, after which all three went to the tavern. The gentleman, the warden, and the head keeper exchanged greetings. "We haven't met before," said the warden. "May we ask your name, sir?" "I have a letter of introduction here, which I will give you shortly," replied the man. "But first, let's have some wine." Xiao Er quickly opened the jugs and served the food. The gentleman called for a ceremonial tray of wine goblets. After filling and handing them out, he invited his guests to be seated. Xiao Er dashed back and forth like a shuttle, serving without cease. The gentleman's attendant took care of the warming of the wine. A dozen rounds were drunk, more tidbits to go with the wine were ordered. "My attendant will warm the wine," the gentleman said to Xiao Er. "You needn't come unless we call you. We want to talk privately." Xiao Er said, "Very well, sir," and left the room. Outside the door, he conferred with his wife. "There's something fishy about those two.
What do you mean?
They've both got Eastern capital accents, and neither of them knows the warden. When I went in with those tidbits just now, I heard the head keeper murmur something about Marshal Gao. Wasn't he the one who harmed Instructor Lin? I'll stay here at the door and keep an eye on them. You go and listen on the other side of the partition wall."
Why not bring Instructor Lin here from the garrison and see if he recognizes them?
You don't know what a terrible temper he has. He's liable to commit murder and burn the place down. If I called him and that gentleman turned out to be the Captain Lu he mentioned the other day, Lin would never let him escape alive. If anything happened here, you and I would be involved. You'd better go and listen. We'll decide what to do later,"
Very well,
said the wife. She went and listened for a time. Then she returned and said,
they're whispering with their heads together. I couldn't hear much, but I saw that fellow who looks like an officer take something wrapped in a white cloth from his attendant and give it to the warden and the head keeper. Maybe there's money in it. I heard the keeper say, leave everything to us. We'll finish him off, come what may.
Just then, from the inner room, a voice shouted, "Bring the soup!" Xiao Er hastened to comply. As he entered, he saw that the warden had a letter in his hand. Xiao Er served the soup, then brought some more dishes of food. The feast continued for another hour. After the bill was paid, the warden and the head keeper departed first. The other two, heads stealthily lowered, then also left. Shortly afterwards, Lin Chong entered the tavern. "Brother Xiao Er," he said, "I hope you're prospering." "Please sit down, benefactor." Xiao Er begged hastily. "I was just about to look for you. I must tell you something very important." "What is it?" asked Lin Chong. Xiao Er led him to the inner room, invited him to be seated, and told him all about the recent customers. "I don't know who these fellows are," he said in conclusion, "but I don't trust them. I'm afraid they want to harm you, benefactor." "What do they look like?" asked Lin. "One of them average built, fair, clean shaven, about 30 or so. The other fellow isn't very tall either. He had a ruddy complexion." Startled, Lin Chong cried, "That man of 30 must be Lu Qian, the filthy thief! How dare he come here to harm me? If I get hold of him, I'll smash him into a jelly!" "The main thing is to be on your guard," said Xiao Er. "Take care not to choke when you eat, or trip when you walk, as the old saying goes." Lin Chong left Xiao Er's home in a towering rage. On the street, he bought a sharp dagger. Carrying it on his person, he made a search of all streets and lanes. Xiao Er and his wife were in a cold sweat. At daybreak the following morning, Lin rose, washed his face, and rinsed his mouth, then took up the dagger and again prowled through all the streets and the lanes both in the city and the outskirts. He patrolled all day, even searching in the prison and the garrison, but nothing was stirring. Returning to Xiao Er's place, he said, "Nothing happened today either." "Benefactor," said Xiao Er, "let's hope it stays that way, but remain on your guard." Lin went back to the garrison prison temple, where he spent the night. He walked the streets for 4 or 5 days without success. His temper gradually began to cool. On the sixth day, the warden summoned Lin Chung into his hall and said, "You've been here for some time now. For the sake of Lord Chai's prestige, we must improve your lot. 15 li outside the city's east gate is a large army fodder depot. Every month you can collect fees from the people delivering the fodder. An old army man is in charge. I've decided to give you the job and have him replace you in the garrison prison temple. Out at the depot, you'll be able to earn a little spending money. Go there with the head keeper and take over." "I'll do that, sir," said Lin. He first left the garrison and went directly to Xiao Er's house. Lin told the couple the news. "Today, the warden is sending me to take charge of the army fodder depot. What do you think?" "Oh, it's a better place than the garrison prison temple," replied Xiao Er. "You can earn some regular fees out there. Usually, no one gets that post without paying a bribe." "Not only haven't they harmed me, but they've given me this good job instead. I don't know what to make of it." "Why be suspicious, benefactor? As long as nothing happens, that's fine. The only trouble is you'll be living quite far from us. After a while, I'll come to see you when I have time." Xiao Er pressed Ling Chung to join him in several rounds of drinks. To make long story short, the two separated and Lin Chung returned to the garrison prison temple. He packed his belongings, put his dagger in his belt, took up a spear, and set out with the head keeper for the fodder depot. It was a bitterly cold winter day. The sky was overcast, and they walked in the tenth of a rising wind amid thickly swirled snowflakes. Since there was no place along the road to buy drinks, Lin Chung and the keeper soon reached the depot. Surrounded by an earthen wall, the depot had a gate with two doors. They pushed them open and entered the compound. They saw a thatched building of 7 or 8 sections, which was serving as a storehouse for the fodder. All around were piles of hay. In the center stood a small thatched shack. Inside, they found the old soldier huddled over a fire. "This is Lin Chong," the head keeper said to him. "The warden has sent him to replace you. You are to go back to take care of the garrison prison temple. You can hand over your duties." The old soldier gave Lin Chung the keys and said, "This stuff in the storehouse is under official seal, and those haystacks, they are all numbered." He took Lin Chung around and counted the stacks, then brought him back to the shack and gathered his belongings. As he was leaving, he said, "I'll give you my brazier, my pot, my bowls, and my dishes." "I have such things in the temple too," said Lin Chung. "You can have mine." The old soldier pointed to the gourd bottle hanging on the wall. He said, "If you want to buy wine, there's a little marketplace 2 or 3 li east down the road." Then he and the head keeper departed for the prison. As for Lin Chung, he placed his bundle and bedding on the bed and sat down to replenish the fire in the earthen brazier. There was some charcoals in the corner of the room, and Lin used a few sticks of them. He looked around the shack. It was very dilapidated and shook with every gust of wind. "How can I pass the winter here?" thought Lin. "When the storm stops, I must bring the mason out from the city to repair this place." Although he hugged the fire, he still felt cold. "The old soldier said there was a little marketplace 2 li from here," he recalled. "Why don't I go and buy some wine?" He took some money from his bundle, tied the gourd bottle to the end of his spear, covered the brazier, put on his broad-brimmed felt hat, took the keys, and shut the door of the shack behind him. Coming through the compound gate, he closed and locked it. Then, carrying the keys, he headed east. The snow-covered ground was a mass of tiny white jade flakes. Lin Chung trudged forward, with the north wind on his back. It was snowing very hard. He had gone less than a half a li when he observed an ancient temple. Lin Chung pressed his palms together before the forehead and bowed. "May the gods protect me. I must come one of these days and burn some paper money in sacrifice." Lin continued on his way. Ahead, he saw a cluster of houses. He halted and peered through the storm. The buildings were enclosed by a fence. A clump of broom straw Hanging outside one of them indicated that this was a tavern. Lin went inside. Where are you from, sir? The host asked. Do you recognize this gourd bottle? Lin Chung countered. The man looked at it and said, It belongs to the old soldier at the fodder depot. That's right, said Lin. So you're the new custodian? Said the host. Please be seated, brother. It's a bitterly cold day. Let me treat you to a few goblets, by the way of welcome. He served a platter of sliced beef, heated a pot of wine, and invited Lin to help himself. Lin bought some more beef, drank a few cups, then had the gourd filled with wine. He wrapped up the 2 orders of beef, left a few pieces of silver, tied the gourd bottle to the end of his spear, and placed the beef inside his shirt. Thanks for your trouble, said Lin. He went out through the fence gate and started back against the wind. Now that night had come, the snow was falling harder than ever. Plodding through the snow in the teeth of the north wind, Lin Chung hurried back to the fodder depot. When he unlocked the doors, he entered the compound. Ah! He uttered a cry of dismay. Actually, the gods who see everything and protect the good and virtuous were saving Lin Chung's life with that snowstorm. The thatched shack had collapsed under the weight of the snow. What am I going to do? Lin wondered. He put his spear and gourd down in the snow, worried that the embers in the brazier might set the place on fire. He pulled open a section of the wall of the fallen shack, pushed himself halfway in, and felt around, but the embers had been extinguished by the melted snow. Lin groped around on the bed till he found his quilt and pulled it out, emerging again into the dark night. I've no place to build a fire, he pondered. How am I going to manage? Then he remembered the ancient temple half a league down the road. I can spend the night there, he thought. When daylight comes, I'll decide what to do. He rolled up his quilt, shouldered his spear with the wine gourd dangling from one end, closed the compound gate once more, locked it, and proceeded to the temple. Entering, he shut the door and propped against it a big stone, which he had noticed lying on one side. He walked further into the temple and saw on a platform an idol of mountain spirit with golden armor, flanked by another region judge and a small demon, one on each side. In a corner was a pile of paper. Lin Chung inspected the whole temple, but could not find either occupants nor anyone in charge. Lin placed his spear and the gourd bottle on the pile of paper and untied his quilt. He removed his broad-brimmed felt hat, shook the snow from his clothes, and peeled off his white tunic, which was half soaked, then put it together with his hat on the altar table. He covered himself to the waist with the quilt and drank from the gourd bottle from time to time, helping the cold wine down with the slices of beef he had been carrying. Suddenly, he heard a loud crackling outside. He leaped to his feet and peered through a vent in the wall. The fodder depot was in flames and burning fiercely. Lin grabbed his spear. He was about to open the door and dash to the fire when he heard men's voices. Lin leaned against the wall and listened. The footsteps of 3 men came directly to the temple. The men pushed the temple door, but the big stone held it fast and they couldn't open it. They stood under the eaves, watching the fire. Not a bad idea, eh? One of them said. We're much indebted to the warden and you, headkeeper. Someone replied. When I return to the capital and report to the marshal, he undoubtedly will make you both big officials. Now Arms Instructor Zhang has no excuse to refuse. We've taken care of Lin Chung properly this time, said a third. Young Master Gao is sure to recover. We tried to arrange the match 3 or 4 times, said a voice. We told that loud Zhang your son-in-law is dead, but he wouldn't give in. Young Master Gao's ailment kept getting worse, and so the marshal sent us specially to beg you 2 gentlemen to help. Today, you've succeeded at last. I've climbed over the wall and set a score of haystacks on fire. I'd like to see him get away. The depot almost completely destroyed. Even if he escapes with his life, burning down a military fodder depot is crime punishable by death. Let's go back to the city. Wait a little longer. If we bring a couple of his bones with us to the capital, the marshal and the young master will praise us for doing the job thoroughly. Lin Chung recognized them by their voices. One was the head keeper, another was Captain Lu Qian, the third was Fu An.
Heaven took pity on me.
Thought Lin.
If that thatched shack hadn't collapsed, I'd have been roasted to death by these villains.
Softly, he pulled the stone away from the door. Clutching his spear, Lin Chung pushed the door open. Where do you think you're going, knaves? He roared. The three who had been leaving froze, too shocked to move. Lin raised his arm and speared the head keeper to the ground. Spare me! Cried Captain Lu, weak with terror. Fu An had run only a score of paces when Lin Chung caught up. With one thrust, Lin plunged the spear into his back and he also fell. Lin turned. He saw Captain Lu starting to flee. Before Lu had gone 3 paces, Lin Chung shouted, "Halt! Treacherous thief!" He grabbed Lu by the front of his tunic and threw him flat on his back in the snow. Lin jabbed the spear into the ground, put one foot on Lu's chest, whipped out his dagger, and held it against the captain's face. "Treacherous knave!" cried Lin. "I never wronged you! How can you have injured me so? Truly, killing can be forgiven, but never deception." That wasn't my idea, Lu pleaded. "The marshal ordered me to do it. I didn't dare refuse." "Treacherous knave!" cried Lin. "We were friends since childhood, yet today you come to destroy me? How can you excuse yourself? Have a taste of this knife!" He ripped open Lu's clothes, stabbed the blade into his heart, and twisted. Blood spurted everywhere. Lin tore out his heart and liver. He saw the head keeper struggling to his feet to run. "Now I know what an evil scoundrel you are!" he shouted. "Take that!" He cut off the keeper's head and tied it to the end of his spear. Next, he went back to Fu An and Lu Qian and cut off their heads too. He put away his knife, tied the 3 heads together by the hair, carried them into the temple, and placed them on the altar in front of the mountain spirit idol. Then he put on his white tunic, tied his waist sash, clapped the broad-brimmed hat on his head, and finished off the cold wine in the gourd bottle. Lin tossed the quilt and the bottle aside, took up his spear, left the temple, and started east. He had gone only 4 or 5 li when he saw people from a neighboring village hasting with water buckets and pikes to put out the blaze. "Hurry and save the place!" Lin Chung called to them. "I'm going to report the fire to the officials!" Spear in hand, he walked rapidly. The snow fell more heavily. For 2 watches, Lin Chung walked eastward. He shivered in the relentless cold. He was now far from the fodder depot. Across the snowy spaces, in a spare grove of trees, he saw a small house with a thatched roof, weighed down by a thick mantle of snow. Firelight gleamed through cracks in the wall. Lin approached the house and pushed open the door. An old vassal and 4 or 5 young ones sat huddled around an open hearth where sticks of wood were burning brightly. Lin walked to them. "Greetings. I'm on a mission for the garrison prison. The snow had soaked my clothes. I'd like to dry them by your fire, if I may." "Go ahead," said the old vassal. "We don't mind." Lin toasted his damp clothes until they were somewhat drier. He noticed warming by the embers a large jug from which the fragrance of wine was rising. "I have some small silver on me," he said. "Could you let me have a little of that wine? We take turns every night guarding the grain bins," the old vassal said. "It's already the 4th watch, And very cold. We don't have enough wine for ourselves. How can we give you any? Forget it. Only 2 or 3 bowls to ward off the chill. Persistent, aren't you? I said no. The aroma of the wine sharpened Lin's thirst. It can't be helped, he insisted. You'll have to give me some. The vassals all turned on him. We're nice enough to let you dry your clothes by our fire, and you want our wine? They said. Get out of here! If you don't, we'll tie you up! Lin grew angry. Surly louts! He cried. With the end of his spear, he flickered burning stick in the old vassal's face, and again with his spear, stirred the flames so high that they signed the old man's whiskers. Everyone jumped up in alarm. Lim belabored them with his spear. The old vassal hurriedly departed. The others were paralyzed with fright. Lin drove them out with blows of the spear shaft. They've all gone, he said. Now I can enjoy this wine. There were 2 coconut ladles on the clay platform bed. With one of these, he began scooping up and drinking the brew. Soon, only half remained. Lin took his spear and walked unsteadily through the door. He staggered along for nearly a li. A gust of wind knocked him down beside a ravine. In vain he tried to struggle to his feet. Once a drunken falls, he can't get up. Lin Chung lay stupefied in the snow. The vassals, leading over 20 others, armed with spears and clubs, came rushing back to the thatched house. Lin was gone. They followed his trail till they found him collapsed in the snow, his spear lying to one side. So here you are! They cried. They seized and bound him. By the 5th watch, they had brought him to another place. And because he went to this place, thousands of boats fore and aft sailed into battle on the lakes. 100 and more heroes arrayed themselves in ranks left and right in the stronghold in the marsh. Truly, to hear of the slaughter and tragedy freezes the heart and chills the bones. Where exactly did the vassals take Lin Chong? Read our next chapter if you would know.